Well, good evening and welcome to my State of Mind online here on WPRI.com. It's kind of a celebratory evening because Dan York's State of Mind returns to original programming at 7:30 on MyRI TV and Fox Providence at midnight. Tonight, we're back with new shows tonight. And of course, they're from this luxurious studio, which is just, I'm sure, just knocking your socks off. At least everyone's become somewhat used to seeing not so fancy television these days. But we're glad to be back on that. Tonight's show has Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee talking about a lot of the small business initiatives his office has been working on during this COVID-19 crisis because, as Calvin Coolidge said back in the day, the business of America is business, and 90% of the business of Rhode Island is small business by category. So much to do there. So enjoy that. But we're excited about being back on the television here with original shows this week. So in the meantime, a couple of thoughts. Dr. Fauci was in Washington today at the Senate, and that's a whole different environment. Now, the dynamic is interesting because Democrats pound away and criticize the conflicting messages coming out of the White House regarding the strategies to battle the COVID-19 disease. And Republicans try to, for the most part, shy away from what's obvious to everybody, that there are conflicting messages coming out of the White House. So, the song and dance continues, but Dr. Fauci held very little back, some but not much, in terms of dire warnings about the dangers of going too fast, too soon, too much, and having to pull this whole thing back. Even on the question of opening colleges across the country in September, he said that, there's not going to be a vaccine yet. So, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's saying not a vaccine yet. So this is going to be a lot about comfort zone and testing and doing all the things we have to do. Meanwhile, the White House has come out with or actually reportedly is working with a new model, not necessarily celebrating the new model, that has as many as 145,000 people passing from this disease effective August 4th. Now, models are models, I get that, but so much for the very beginnings of the president's confidence that this thing was going to just go away. By the way, disappear is the word that he used again within the last week. And Dr. Fauci was clear to say, this thing's not disappearing. Do not kid yourself. In lieu of therapies and a vaccine, this is about keeping yourself safe and social distancing and following all the protocols. This conflict that exists between the president trying to cheerlead the business in this economy into whatever place he sees, and the Dr. Fauci's of the world, along with the CDC and the FDA guys who are kind of pulling their own punches, but trying to make the point clear that A, we don't have it under control, and B, we're not out of the woods by any stretch. It's all going to come down to, in a lot of ways, our ability to navigate on our own. And this disease is so, transmissible that through no fault of anybody, there's a good chance that you might confront it. And there's a probably pretty good chance that many of you watching have actually had it and didn't know. The mystery that surrounds this virus is still, to be understood, and probably will be at least a year away before we understand what all the ramifications are. In the meantime, we got to go about our lives. We've got to slow phase one this thing and get in some kind of consistent shape about it. The governor had an interesting comment today when she did her briefing. She said, you got to be brave. Go have dinner. Her birthday's this weekend, she says, and she's having the family take her out to dinner. Happy birthday, Governor. But I understand what she's saying when she says that. I mean, there's a anxiety that goes along with just getting into any kind of form of routine, and going out to dinner is certainly one of them. And around here, that's what we all do, right? So, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of courage, a little bit of bravery. By the way, on a different note, the governor now has had 2 days in a row at the Veterans Auditorium doing a briefing in front of the working press. While yesterday was a little clumsy, today seemed to be a really good working session where members of the press followed up with questions. And here the funny thing was, maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't, but I'll report out to you what I thought about it. I thought she did wonderfully. I thought the governor was relaxed. I thought she was conversant. I thought she looked even more in control and informed. And I don't know why she does not put herself in this position on a regular basis, other than she's got a staff that knows not what they do. The recommendations for this governor, even pre COVID 19, Governor Raimondo has actually a way about her which belies her favorability ratings before COVID 19. I mean, she was in the dumper. And she's actually very pleasant to be with. And she's actually very interactive with media when she puts herself in that position. And that is part of the leadership that she should have been exercising over the last couple of months. Now, again, she's done great with the health director and the numbers and the pre-hospitalization and keeping the hospital numbers down and warning us. And I have a lot of qualms with the way she's run this thing on a business basis. And I have a tremendous amount of qualms about the way she has not delegated her accountability and authority here. It's been micromanaged city, and that's one of her challenges. But she is an engaging human being who is overdue and has been overdue to do so. And by one more thought about this, because I really want to make this point, just so you remember, she was saying that she would broaden this out to the press when the social distancing rules were relaxed. Well, guess what? Even in phase 1, the social distancing rules still cap groups at 5. 5. There are more than 5 members of the press that are at the Veterans Auditorium. So all that baloney about 5 was all about control and keeping distance from being questioned. Now, whether that was her or whether that was her miserable staff, it wasn't the way to lead. And it wasn't true. Have a terrific night. Again, we're back on the television with a guy, the lieutenant governor, who will tell you that he hasn't talked with the governor, if you can believe that. Hasn't met with the governor. Hasn't been at the briefings because, as he says, he hasn't been invited. Take a look at that show. And we'll talk to you on the radio tomorrow at 3 until 6 on WPRO and back here tomorrow night. Good to be back in business.